Maggie. I'm a licensed clinical psychotherapist with degrees in psychology, theology, and marriage and family therapy, a national certification in dialectical behavioral therapy, and a national certification in integrative mental health. In this video, I'm not looking to diagnose anyone. I'm only willing to offer insight into situations like these. Hello, happy Sunday. So in the past 50 years, rates of loneliness and depression have skyrocketed by 50%, particularly among men. So experts link this to a loss of purpose and emotional disconnect to society. So we're going to talk about it. Definitely going to talk about it. But first, let me say hello to some people. Adric is first. He says it's on. Thank you, Adric. Nina Williams is here. Hi to you as well, my favorite auntie. Adrian says, let's go. Hi, Rocky. Thank you for being here. Adric says, let's hear it for the dancing Maggies. I really need to work on my transatlantic accent for that. Inspired Truth is here. Thank you for being here. He caught a live. Nick Morrison is here. He says it's guaranteed to be good. Oh, now I feel pressure. Whew. Gotta make sure it's good. All right. Everybody's here, ready to go. A lot of the live tribe is here. I have the best live tribe on YouTube, just so that everyone is aware. I'm putting it out there. And my replay gang is also amazing. My sweatshirt keeps coming up around my shoulders. Okay, so let's talk about masculine energy. Okay, because we kind of live in a time where anything that's masculine is labeled toxic. And everything is confusing because you'll hear women say, wow, I want a man to be a man and a man's man. And I want him to be masculine, except when I don't want him to be. So it really gets conflated with the term toxic masculinity, right? And I'm going to say this again later, but I want to be very clear about this. I'm going to talk about how masculine energy is needed for liberation. I am going to talk about some ways to connect with your masculine energy. However, here's the caveat. I don't necessarily agree that women should be the ones telling men how to man. So this is just from my perspective. It is a little bit shorter. No, it's long, but it's a little bit shorter of a future show I'm going to do on femininity. And that's because as a woman, I'm going to talk shit on other women. No, I'm going to, I have a unique perspective on femininity. So this is a bit more of an outside in, a bit more of a focus on liberation, but I am going to talk about reconnecting with masculinity. So I expect and I ask the men in the comment section to call me out when I'm wrong and add to what I'm saying when there's more detail that's necessary. So that's my request that I'm asking from the men in the live tribe. Okay, so a lot of times it's conflated with being toxic because at times it seems primal, and not primal in the way of like it's so basic, but primal as in it is where our base comes from, right? It's primal, but it's balanced, right, in human behavior. So historically, spiritual practices like Taoism referred to masculinity or the male primal force as yang. Let me pause there for a second. There's a long comment here, so I want to read it. Adrian Hicks says, okay, no, I'm going to put it up there. Oh, wrong one. Sorry, Spain man, but thank you for being here. Adrian says, thank you. That part has to be said. On one hand, women have dominion over femininity, but men have to listen to women on what being a real man is. Crazy world. Yeah, so I want to be real clear about that. And I will bring it up again right before I talk about some ways to connect with masculinity. And again, thank you, Spain Man, for being here. Yes, he's part of the live tribe. Okay, so historically, it's been called yang in Taoism. Okay, that's the, you guys have seen it. It looks like a paisley or a sideways teardrop, and there's two of them, right? And they make up one whole circle. It's a white side with a black dot and a black side with a white dot. No, wait, the black side's on that. Oh, but you guys are married anyway. It doesn't matter. But you know what I'm talking about. But also in ancient archetypes, the masculine has been portrayed as the warrior or the king, right? Because masculine energy embodies assertiveness, protection, which I'll talk a little bit more on because I don't view it the same way some people do, and responsibility. It's not in and of itself inherently harmful, right? Or domineering. It can be dominant, but not domineering. Rather, it becomes toxic when it's misused or warped. And I'll talk about that just a tinky bit because we're talking about the good things. Oh, look what M. Lavo found. Hi, M. Lavo. You found the supers are working. Isn't that exciting? And thank you so much. He says, congrats on being able to get super chats and being monetized. Love your show. Do you believe in tarot readings? Since he did a super, I'm answering. Right? I will pause for anybody who does a super. I do and I don't. And I'll tell you why. I do believe in quantum field and quantum entanglement. And sometimes you call energy into yourself and you put energy out of yourself. And so there's times, I think, when there may be a person who's so in touch with the quantum field that they can utilize tarot maybe to read energy. So I don't totally throw the baby out with the bathwater. I think at times a person could use tarot cards or lots of other things, room throwing, chicken bones, all kinds of stuff to sort of read the energy around them. But I think that it takes a lot of skill. It takes some inherent ability to tap into the quantum field. And it takes a lot of study. And I think we're in a day and age where people are just getting online and grabbing a deck of tarot and doing something called a dirty shuffle, which is just flipping it like this until cards fall out and then reading them. And I don't think that's how that works. So, in a way, yes, I think it's possible. To the extent that people are doing it now, no. And in fact, somebody on here in the live tribe refers to people as tarot-rists who use tarot and do dirty shuffles and things like that without being highly skilled and trained, and to use it against other people. Like, oh, well, I pulled the King of Swords, and that means you're telling lies on me or whatever. So we got to keep that in mind. Rael is in here. Peace to you as well. Rocky says, what is domineering? Domineering is more like enforcing your domination down someone's throat. That would be domineering. M. Lavo says, sorry to interrupt. Don't you ever be sorry. Don't ever be sorry. You invoked the supers, and that was an important question, especially because we're talking about energy, right? And so it is apropos. Adrian says we don't negotiate with terrorists. Yep, exactly. Inspired chooses. Why is this funny to me? Yeah. Yeah. And Adrian says, feel free to use it. I got it from him. So feel free to use it. Right. So today, in today's world, we're kind of plagued by true emotional disconnection, right? We're in a leadership crisis. We're sort of disoriented societally, and restoring the masculine energy is pretty relevant at this time, right? We need it. Okay. I'm going to talk a little bit about leadership later, because it's not necessarily what we think it is. Okay. So if we can revisit the historical role in the masculine shaping civilizations, we can really look at how this energy can lead us toward a collective liberation. Okay. So modern society faces like this trifecta of challenges right now. And he says, thank you for addressing dirty shuffles. Yes. That's not, I think maybe you can use a dirty shuffle for yourself. Not necessarily. If you're reading for someone else, you really need to be highly skilled and trained. Yeah. Rael is here. He says, big difference between leadership and control. Control is domineering. Yeah, to answer Rocky's questions. Leon says, chilling in the hallway, new baby in the building. All the ladies getting their time. Oh, congratulations. That's awesome. Yay, Leon. That's awesome. See, now I'm all super happy, but I'm going to talk about societal challenges. So there's a lack of direction. Okay. So there's this growing sense of like aimlessness, purposelessness, meaning I don't know what my purpose is. Right. But that's particularly among young men. Right. And it's kind of because society has gotten to where it abhors male assertiveness, right? Any male assertiveness is labeled toxic. Okay. Society steals boys' emotional expression. Like male emotional expression is taken away from boys and said it's bad and it's harmful and you can't do that. And to the point where the only societally accepted male expression of emotion is okay or angry, but not too angry because then you're toxic, right? But I want you angry when I want you angry. And you never can tell when you're allowed to be angry, and only angry, not irritable, because then you're complaining. You see what I'm saying? Like society is, society has stolen what femininity means and really confused and jumbled up what masculinity means. I was saying in a live earlier today, in an elitist society, which is what we live in, the only people who benefit from us being genderless or gender neutral is the elites, right? Because then we can all be worker bees and just go to work and make them money, right? Boys are also told, men are told from a very young age, you are scary. Be small, right? Watch your tone, watch how you say things, take the bass out of your voice. Don't raise your voice, don't be loud. You can say you're angry, but don't express anger. You're bigger than everybody else. Make yourself smaller, hunch your shoulders, lower your head, right? You're scary. Make yourself small. Sorry, I have to get that out of my way. It was in my way. Okay. Adrian says, after the confusion over male emotions, men just become emotionless. Right. Well, I mean, the thing is, then when you express emotions, somebody's always got something to say about it. Right. He's put up the robot emojis. Yeah. Somebody's always got something to say about men expressing emotion. Just like the flip side, if a woman was to become more stoic, then she would be given a hard time for being emotional. So then women take it way too far and become emotionful, right? So this is what I'm saying when femininity, the way it truly is, was stolen from society, and I'll talk about that in a later show. And masculinity was like jumbled up and made something that it's not. Okay. To kind of make us all gender neutral. Okay. So this emotional disconnect, right, suppresses emotional intelligence as well, because it's sort of like nobody teaches a little boy the difference between irritated, annoyed, frustrated, angry, right? Because you're not allowed to have those. It doesn't matter. Nobody cares. You're a boy, whatever. And so then it leads to strain in relationships. It leads to lack of self-awareness because you can't even label the things that you're feeling. And when you can't label the things that you're feeling, it's really hard to express the things that you're feeling. And you're not allowed to anyway. So it just goes back to becoming emotionless, right? Because that's all just mess. Okay. Now, the third part of the trifecta. So the trifecta of societal problems is the lack of direction, emotional disconnect. The third one is the absence of strong leadership. Okay. We have a lot of leaders, a lot of cooks in the kitchen, a lot of stuff going on, but we are lacking in strong leadership, right? And there's almost this reluctance to take responsibility or lead with integrity. And so communities are adrift. Now, the reluctance is not because there aren't men who are able or even maybe willing, but what happens to strong male leaders when they step up? I mean, I'm going to talk a little bit about leaders in the civil rights movement here in just a moment when I talk masculinity. And look what happened to strong male leaders. Houses burned down and killed. So, and then because we live in this day of labeling everything masculine as toxic, when you have a strong male leader, he's what? Toxic, right? He's a misogynist. He's toxic. He's this. He's that. Okay. Hi, compassionate oaths to you as well. Hi, Adric. Some parents would say, take that bass out of your voice for control. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Right. So, and this is the voice that is yours, right? This is your voice. It's you know what I mean? But it's wrong. You're told it's wrong. So then how much are we going to express ourselves when your voice is wrong? You're being silenced, right? Speak lightly. Speak lightly. Oh, Adrian Hicks says the ice cube effect. I don't know what that is. Can you tell us what it is? All right. Snowman's here. Snowman's checking in. All right. So that trifecta of societal challenges highlights the need to reclaim masculine energy in its authentic form. Okay. When the authentic form is understood, when it's applied, it can address all of that by fostering direction, fostering connection, and transformative leadership, which is so, so important. All right. So, what are some characteristics of authentic masculine energy, right? There's some biggies that stand out, but authentic masculine energy plays a vital role in creating structures, be that physical or mental, providing stability, and fostering growth in personal and communal context. So I'm going to go into detail. So let's explore some of these traits. Before I do, Leon says it's time for male leadership in Sagittarius season. Good luck to all who go against the grain. If you know, you know. Sagittarians will take leadership in moments like this. I know a couple Sagittarians, and I don't know. Excuse me. All right, so let's talk about some traits of authentic masculine energy. The first one is assertiveness. And I've talked already about how assertiveness is stolen from little boys. But assertiveness, which just means it's not aggressive, it can be when it needs to be, but assertiveness is standing firm, right? 10 toes down. It is standing firm in the value, whatever it values, right? So assertiveness is the ability to express oneself confidently and stand by beliefs without aggression or passivity, because passivity is what is taught. Okay. It's about clarity of purpose, the courage to take action, right? And you guys remember what courage is, it's not the absence of fear, right? So a person demonstrating assertiveness might calmly but firmly advocate for justice or set clear boundaries, or ensuring mutual respect. That is being assertive. Adrian says Ice Cube stepped up, took initiative with drafting a Black agenda, was roundly lambasted for it to the point that he took his toys and resources and moved on. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah. I do remember that. And it's pretty good. And I see how confusing it is for men because it's like men are constantly told, step up, take charge, be a leader, provide protection, yada, yada, yada. And then when you do, you get beat up for it. Okay. So the first one is assertiveness. Second one is protection, which is safeguarding. It's not, let me tell you who to beat up or putting us in situations where you have to get in a fight. That's not really protection. To me, that is a guard dog. So that's not really protection. Okay. So for me, protection is safeguarding, right? It involves standing as a shield for those who can't defend themselves. Okay. Not being activated like a guard dog. So for people who can't defend themselves. Okay, so we have to keep that in mind too, because sometimes people will put men in situations that they should just be taken care of, right? So whether it's physically, emotionally, or socially, safeguarding. Okay, so there are times protection may look like holding other people accountable, protecting you from yourself. That can happen. And unfortunately, we don't want to hear it nowadays, right? It can manifest in defending the rights of marginalized groups or being present for a loved one who is in need or creating spaces where people feel supported and secure. It's safeguarding. It's not a guard dog. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense to people. The third one is responsibility. So owning one's actions and consequences, right? Responsibility means taking an active role in the outcomes of your life, striving to do better, holding accountability, holding other people accountable for their actions, right? And participating in societal improvement. So responsibility is a big one. Um, there's two that are really, really big for me that manifest a lot in masculine energy. And the next one is one of them, and that is the creative impulse. So in the creative impulse, there's some subcategories, vision and ambition, right? That is part of masculine energy. Masculine energy thrives on having a goal, having a mission, having a purpose, right? The need to create and build and turn dreams into reality. So whether it's like building a house or starting a business or writing a book or making a piece of art, it's a drive that stems from seeing the potential in something that is unfinished or unformed or unmade and taking the steps to change it. There's a real sense of accomplishment. And this is a drive that men have, right? This is their vision. In the creative impulses, order and structure. The masculine energy excels in creating order out of chaos. Okay. And women tend to be chaos, right? That's how we're free flowing. Okay. So you can see it in like architecture, engineering, but even in interpersonal relationships, men often approach problems with a builder's mindset. Okay, focusing on how to design, how to structure, how to optimize systems to achieve better outcomes. So this goes for relationships too when there's a problem. Men often approach problems with a builder's mindset, focusing on how to design, structure, and optimize the system to achieve better outcomes. Right? So sometimes we might argue a little bit different because men, the masculine energy, will approach the problem with a builder's mindset. Inspired Truth says often we are labeled leader without authority, which actually makes us scapegoats. Yes. Indigo Flow is here. Thank you for the flowers. Peace to you as well. The next one that falls under that creative impulse is a legacy, right? Legacy and contribution. So a deep, deep aspect of masculine energy is the desire to leave something lasting for future generations, right? Leave a legacy behind. So this could be a literal creation, like children, right? Or a structure, a building, a thing, or a metaphorical one, like a movement or a set of ideas or a song, right? It's how building leaves a positive mark on the world. And this is part of this creative urge in men. It's a big one. It's part of masculine energy. And because building is fulfilling for men, right? They get that satisfaction of completion, right? They get a connection to a purpose. And remember, I talked earlier about purposelessness and an expression of energy. So that masculine energy can be expressed and sort of directed towards building and having something productive that you are producing. It's how we move from ambition to action, is this builder's mindset, right? We have these constructive endeavors that turn potential chaos into order. So tell me if you guys agree on that. That's a big, big part of masculine energy. And I just don't know how you could say that that's toxic. It's amazing. Do I want to build a building? No. I don't tap into that side, except to maybe because I really, really, really like order and organization. So maybe that's how I tap into my masculine energy. Okay, so I want to repeat the caveat again. Women should not necessarily tell men how to man, okay? Um, However, we all do have internal masculine and feminine, but which we have to balance, but we ourselves are each either masculine or feminine, right? We're either man or woman. Okay. So I don't necessarily think a woman should tell men how to man, but I am going to talk about reclaiming masculine energy. So this is the part where the men in the live tribe and the replay gang can tell me if I get something wrong or they want to add to something or give it a little context or whatever. Okay. So reclaiming masculine energy involves reconnecting with the positive traits of masculinity that were taken away from you. And the way to do that is through intentional practice. Okay. So, some intentional practice. Okay. Oh, before I start, Rael, hi, Rael, says masculine development has to break away from the mother identity in order to fully develop rites of. Oh, I totally agree. Rites of passage were designed specifically to break boys away from moms, right? It's like that when people say, ironically, cut the umbilical cord, da, 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 or men who seek mothering in their relationships. Yeah, I see what you're talking about. And that rites of passage did do that. There was something about overcoming fear and triumph that was part of male rites of passage that did do that. It sort of helped people or helped boys to connect with that masculine energy. And yeah, you can't develop into a man still connected to mom. Yeah. You have to change your relationship with mom, right? And just like mom has to let go and change her relationship with you. Okay. So here are some intentional practices. Okay. I'm really excited to see what you guys say. The first one is self discipline. Okay. So build some daily habits that strengthen your mind and your body. You can use regular exercise, like physical exercise. The thing that you can be building is yourself, right? Quit being small. Okay. Be strong, reclaim that, right? Some mindfulness practices of just like tapping into yourself, who you authentically are, what you like to do before things were taken from you, or even pursuing educational goals or researching specific topics that you like that maybe other people have said, no, you don't want to do that, or men shouldn't do that, whatever. But this practice of self-discipline fosters self-reliance, reliability on yourself and being a reliable person for other people, and consistency. And those things are necessary for leadership and your own personal growth. Okay. Rael says rites of passage were the bridge between boyhood and manhood. Yeah. And Inspired Truth says this also sounds like confidence building low key. Oh, I love it. Well, think about like when little boys are told they're small to be small because they're scary, you do lose confidence, right? You lose self reliance. You're trying to, I'm bad. I'm bad. And what little boy? Come on, these are little boys we're talking about. But they grow into men who can carry that with them, right? The second one is develop some emotional literacy, right? Because you weren't allowed to develop emotional intelligence, you know, in that way, in the being able to label and name. Not that you're not emotionally intelligent, it just is what comes natural, right? You're instinctively more emotional, or not, shouldn't say it that way. You're instinctively emotionally intelligent, but you don't know the labels and the words, right? And I'm not saying this is for everybody, but since it was taken away from boys of being able to label and know the words, now you can't talk about it. You feel it, you know it, you do it, you act in the way, you have the emotional intelligence, you need the literacy that goes along with it, right? So learn how to identify emotions so that you can talk about them and communicate them openly. The vocabulary, yes, the literacy. The emotional literacy leads to healthier relationships, being able to advocate for yourself, and combats the stereotype that masculinity requires emotional suppression. That's not how it works, right? We're all emotional. We all have emotions. Emotions are just information in how we react to our environment. It is human, right? So just because you're told men have to suppress their emotions or shouldn't have emotions or don't have emotions or are all logic and no emotions, that's part of the indoctrination that got us where we're at. Okay. Building and creating, right? Building and creating, because that's part of this urge, this drive, right? Physical creations. Okay. So, like from ancient monuments of the pyramids to modern skyscrapers, we see this, right? Men are driven by the masculine energy to create and make symbols of achievement and purpose. Okay. Even on a smaller scale, still big, crafting furniture, designing a garden, building a tool, making a song, writing a poem, all of that stuff satisfies that inherent need to create something useful or beautiful. Think about what are some popular things right now, like modifying Air Force Ones, watch mods, um, the Hot Wheels mods, or even working on cars, modifying an actual car. All of those things are physical creations of that builder's mindset, right? Um, Entrepreneurship, starting a business is kind of a quintessential expression of masculine energy. It takes all of it and has to put it all together, right? And it's not saying like, your whole entire job creating a whole company, right? But having a business or a side job, or doing something in your spare time that you can make money from, or actually starting a whole business, right? It requires assertiveness to take risks, responsibility to manage the resources, and vision to create something from nothing, right? That one's huge. Entrepreneurs often talk about the fulfillment that they feel in building not just a product or a service, but an entire ecosystem of people or processes, right? And then how much do we degrade people who say they're an entrepreneur? I mean, come on. It's nuts. Rael says self-esteem is the foundation of high performance. Yeah. Um, Dominic is here. Hi. Namaskar to you as well. Um, and then there's artistic and intellectual creation. So while I included those and some of the other ones, I really want to talk about how men channel masculine energy into music, literature, inventions, right? This is your intellectual property, right? So think about technologies, composers, scientific theories, all of those. The act of creation satisfies a need to bring something new into the world that reflects that person's values and vision. And it takes masculine energy to do it. Okay. So, building relationships and communities, that's kind of important too, because masculine energy doesn't just stop at making a thing, right? It extends to relationships and to communities because that balanced masculine energy is driven to build and nurture strong foundations, right? The strong foundations, whether it's in his family, his friendships, or the broader community, whatever groups he's in. So, this involves having stability and fostering growth. And all of those things are part of that masculine energy. Okay. So just want to hit a little bit on what does toxic masculinity looks like, because this society keeps confusing anything that's masculine with being toxic. And so unfortunately, I have to talk about it a little bit. So what the way that I want to do it is to give you examples of how masculine energy has been stolen and then used against man. Okay, so this is some examples of how masculine energy is stolen and then used against man. Okay, because men are victims of this as well. Okay, so when this masculine energy is driven by ego, greed, fear, all of those things, then it gets warped and used against man. So here's some examples. Roman imperialism, okay? The Roman Empire exemplified the misuse of assertiveness and protection, right? Kind of became nationalism. So what began as this drive to unify and protect these specific territories devolved into conquest and domination. Okay. Entire cultures were suppressed, genocides happened. The drive for power outweighed any type of ethical considerations whatsoever. Adrian Hicks says, woohoo, I do car stuff. I'm is a main. Goopy. Silly. Leon said this is facts about the other stuff. Okay. So, of course, he just had a baby. So, your legacy. Yay. Okay. Another way that masculine energy was stolen and used against man is the Nazi propaganda. So, Nazi ideology manipulated masculine ideals of strength and discipline and duty to serve their toxic agenda, right? Men were pressured into adopting nationalism and this militaristic form of masculinity that valued conformity over morality, right? Leading to widespread atrocities, right? Another way masculine energy was stolen and used against man was colonialism. And I say was lightly because colonialism is still happening. So during the biggest areas of colonial expansion, the protective and the responsible aspects of masculine energy were distorted, right? Colonizers justified their actions as civilizing, right? These are civilizing missions. We're going to civilize the brutes, right? But in reality, they exploited, enslaved, and destroyed communities for personal gain and national gain. So those type of things are toxic masculinity, right? Because it harms everyone, right? So this masculine energy is stolen, warped, and used against man. True masculinity stands in direct opposition to such misuse, direct opposition. It promotes liberation by fostering equanimity, justice, and integrity. Integrity and honor is a huge part of masculine energy, right? So, hi, Scorpion Black. Thanks for being here. Um, so, as an example of it standing in direct opposition, the abolitionist Frederick Douglass, though often provoked into physical confrontation, used his masculine energy to inspire hope, advocate for freedom, and elevate men and women in his fight against slavery. Okay, so that being said, the example that I want to use for harnessing masculine energy or examples of masculine energy is the civil rights movement. So, James Baldwin, one of my favorite human beings on the planet, love to listen to James Baldwin. So, if you never have listened to James Baldwin, please do so. You will not be disappointed. But James Baldwin was a writer and an activist, and he channeled his assertiveness and emotional clarity, very emotionally literate, to confront systemic racism. So his masculine energy wasn't about physical dominance. He wasn't very big of a man. He was also homosexual, but very masculine. Okay. So you see how things get warped and we're told certain things, right? But he is a masculine man, right? It wasn't about physical dominance. It wasn't about his prowess with the ladies. It was about intellectual courage. It was about moral leadership. He urged people of all genders, he urged everyone to join in the fight. He created this, he was making this solid foundation, right? So, this is appropriate use of masculine energy. Um, Indigo Flow says Baldwin is dope. Yes, he is. Compassionate says Baldwin is one of my heroes. Me too. Inspired True says I've listened to a few of his audiobooks. It was great. That's awesome. James says, what is she referencing? Appropriate use of masculine energy. And thank you, James, for being here. Inspired True says the fire next time. It's a good one. Okay, so, and I'm utilizing, James, I'm utilizing the civil rights movement as an example, to pull examples, okay, of utilizing appropriate or utilizing masculine energy. Martin Luther King Jr., right? He epitomized responsible leadership, right? Like he balanced his determination and passion with nonviolence, at least right up until the end. His speeches rallied whole communities, even while he was one of the most hated people on the planet for a while, right? While ensuring that the movement resisted falling into toxic cycles of hate, right? So, masculine man, right? But very stoic, you know? And so he epitomized responsible leadership. Malcolm X, right? Again, another person who was one of the most hated people on the planet. He embodied this protective masculine energy. He was a defender of Black people, Black communities, and wanted to keep them from harm while advocating for holding your head up, standing straight, squaring your shoulders, and saying, we have to hold self-respect. He wanted to empower people, right? Um, and I'm not just talking about all Black people. John Lewis, he's a good example of masculine energy during the civil rights movement. So he worked alongside a lot of other leaders in the movements, and he demonstrated humility and dedication to common goals, this dedication to seeing the plan through, right? Masculine energy it transcends things, right? Not every single person has to be the leader as well, right? But it's rooted in justice and collaboration. Okay. Um, all of those leaders utilize their masculine energy in partnership with other people, right? Masculine energy can empower and elevate, right? This is why it's so important for liberation. It empowers and it elevates, it creates this foundation, and then it lifts, right? Which includes accountability and things like that, right? Um, so I saw this video from KRS-One, and it was actually a YouTube video of a TikTok video. So I can't give a lot of details about it, but it's about how to find your soul. But to me, and I'm sure he was saying it was how to find your soul, so it is, because that's what he said. But to me, it was sort of apropos for this video, because I think when men are connecting to their masculinity, it starts with finding your inner self. And that's what KRS-One did. And it's a super interesting video. And he says it way better than I will. So I'm going to play his video. Let me get it pulled up. Let me caveat here for a second that so I don't get a YouTube or a copyright strike, I'm gonna have to pause it every little bit and just say something, but it's not like I can even add to what he's talking about, because it's pretty amazing. Okay, so there's my caveat that you're gonna hear me on occasion, because I'm gonna have to stop it. Okay, here we go. Make sure to tell me if you can hear it okay.
Here's the exercise, y'all. Here's what we're going to do. Let's locate the soul. At the count of three, we're going to say hip hop. Here's the exercise. Count of three, we're going to say hip hop to ourselves. Don't say it out loud. Say it only to yourself. At the count of three, in yourself, we're going to say hip hop. Don't say it out loud, just say it to yourself. 1, 2, 3. The great master will then ask you your second question after that exercise. The question would be, who just spoke? That's right. Who just spoke? Who just spoke? Let's do it again. At the count of three, don't speak out loud, speak within yourself. 1, 2, 3. What voice is that? So. This is, you just spoke and did not move your mouth. That's the mind. Take it in slow. This is 5,000-year-old techniques. When you walk into the ancient systems, Egyptian, Kushite, when you walk into the ancient Ethiopian systems, you did see know thyself on the wall before you walked into the show. You saw know thyself, but that was for everybody else that didn't have knowledge. They would walk by the mission and say, yo, they say, know thyself. Wow.
Okay, here. I'm going to pause it for a second. Did you guys say hip hop in your mind? And did you hear it? Did it work for you? Let me know.
No, this is what you were supposed to do. It said, know thyself. The priest would say that without moving your mouth. And you would say at the count of three. 1, 2, 3. And right when you said, know thyself to yourself, You found yourself. Because the self that spoke was not this. The Most High. This did not move. This voice did not speak, yet you spoke. Let's go further. You heard yourself speaking. How is that possible? How can you hear yourself speak and you didn't speak? Your mouth didn't say no word. You said, and you heard it. This mouth did not speak, and these ears did not hear you speak, yet you spoke and you heard yourself speaking. If you close your eyes, you can see your future and your past. What is the vision that sees your past?
Okay, guys, I'm just throwing in here the vision that sees your past, right? So hopefully you guys are doing the exercise that he's talking about and it's working well for you. When he says see your future, of course, he doesn't mean actually future tell, but we see multiple different possibilities for our future. So let's let him continue.
He said imagination, which is, by the way, the Western term for soul. Image. Your imagination. When you imagine, you are projecting yourself.
Sorry. I got to just put this in here for a second. This is really important. This is something that I've talked about, how image and imagination and imaginings, it kind of applies to the biblical reference of man is made in the image of God, meaning that man was made in the imagination of God or of the soul of God. So bear that in mind too.
Yeah, you call it imagination. Some say consciousness. Some say soul. Some say inner light, inner person. Yeah, that would be true. But let's get it straight. These two eyes do not see your past, yet you see your past. These two eyes do not see your future, yet you can see a future. You see it. Imagine this. You see your future. These eyes are not seeing that. You can speak without the mouth. You can hear without the ears. We're locating the soul now. We're locating the first you. The you that projects this you. This is not KRS-One. Leg on, and this is not KRS-One. KRS-One is that voice inside. This is the projection of KRS-One. KRS-One, though, is not a physical thing. It's an idea.
Okay. That's where we'll leave off. Because I think that compassionate says, that it's a good exercise in individuation. I don't disagree. It's a good exercise in connecting with your true self, like who you are on the inside. Rocky, they're just talking about like when you do stuff in your mind, like say things in your mind or imagine things in your mind. So that's what they're talking about. Rael said, this is why hip hop has been demonized so much, because it has been a tool that young people used to push the consciousness forward past the sheeple mindset of the order. Love that. Inspired Truth says, sounds like one of the Hermetic principles, as within, so without. It's part of that. When I do, well, no, I'll talk about that in a minute. Compassionate says, I'd argue that voice you hear without speaking is the ego. The self isn't articulate. Or possibly it's the shadow talking back. I don't know. But it's an inner self. Um, I kind of look more at the ego being the projection, what we project to other people. Conversations that go on the inside is part of the subconscious. Um, Ryle says young people always have to push the boundaries, which is why we see from a political perspective, there was so much pushback in this past election against young folks regarding the Democrats. Oh, the older. Okay, sorry. BGS. Hi, BGS. Thanks for being here. He says your anima speaks to you. Yeah, Jung would say that you can have conversations with all of your archetypes, right? So you have to start with that inner voice, right? And for those of you who are not aware, your inner masculine and feminine, from a Jungian standpoint, is your anima and your animus. Okay. Just the anima and animus are just the feminine and masculine energy inside of everybody. Okay. So masculine energy, when it's authentic, right, and it's not weaponized against all of us, serves as the cornerstone for societal well-being, right? It fosters leadership, emotional resilience, protection in the way that we just talked about, right? Countering the chaos of the modern challenges, right? Masculinity is a force for liberation and equanimity, right? Rather than oppression. Okay. So it builds communities where everyone can thrive together. It's not the antithesis of femininity. It's their counterparts, yes, but it's a necessity for a balanced and liberated society. Again, like I said, femininity was stolen and suppressed, and masculinity was warped. Okay, when now everything masculine is called toxic, but it can't be. Masculine energy in building and creating creates all this innovation, right? The masculine creation elevates people, right? Creates foundations, empowers others to align with broader values, right? As an example, the Apollo space program, right, led by engineers, scientists, astronauts, and yes, some women who were mathematicians, but is a monumental example of how masculine energy focused singularly on a creation and collaboration um, led to something amazing, right? It wasn't just about reaching the moon, got to reach the moon, right? But about innovation, collaboration, unity, and inspiring humanity to aim higher, right? Indigo says they're complementary. That's how they were designed. BGS says the current feminist energy comes from penis envy. Yeah, I think they're trying to make everyone gender neutral so that we're all worker bees. Rael says, so instead of facing the monster within, they project their inner monstrosity onto others. That allows them to feel better inside, but limits their ability to grow and develop in a mature fashion. Yeah, that's that using that energy against other people. So masculine energy, when it's aligned with a meaningful purpose, empowers men to create things, build things that last, to inspire other people, to contribute to the betterment of society. It's an energy that transforms potential into reality. And that's what it all comes down to. That masculine energy transforms potential into reality, making the world a richer, more dynamic place. And thank you, Adric. Appreciate you. Oh, I should probably put the link to that video, that KRS1 video up Or if one of you have it, who has a wrench, can you put it up? But that way, if people want to watch the video in its entirety, because I cut off the end and also had to interrupt because of copyright. So if anybody wants to watch it in its entirety, please do so. It's a pretty great exercise. BGS calls it the Yahweh spark. I don't disagree. And you guys keep hitting on some stuff, okay? So you're like, this should be a spoiler alert for an upcoming show, okay? But I want to read this quote. I don't necessarily like the person who made the quote, but I love the quote. So I'm going to read the quote. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. I like it. Don't necessarily like the person who does it. Okay, so something that you will hear me say on a later show, and I'm going to say it here, and I will repeat it again and again as much as necessary. Okay. When we talk about masculinity and femininity and those energies, it is the masculine who determines the goal. It is he who drives the carriage. It is the feminine who lights the way. It is she who carries the map. Okay. Liberation requires the goal. And we're all asking who's driving the carriage, right? We say we need a savior, we need a leader, right? But collective masculine energy is what we need. Okay, so here's where I'm going to say all these spoiler alerts were happening. So there's going to be an upcoming show on feminine energy. So just like we talked about today, masculine energy is essential, is critical for liberation. Feminine energy is essential for salvation. Okay, so there's an upcoming show, Feminine Energy is Essential for Salvation, right? But we could also call it part 2 of Masculine Energy is Needed for Liberation. And I'm going to go deeper into the Hermetic principles, the Seven Sisters, some Gnosticism, some of those kind of things. Like I said, as a woman, I will go deeper into femininity, right? But it's also, because they are complementary counterparts, it's important for understanding masculinity as well. And when I do the femininity show, I will direct people back to this masculinity show because, again, it's important to know both. Rael says, Marie von Franz, a protege of Jung, talked about how men with a mother complex retreat to intellectualism because they're not grounded in the real world expectations of masculine development. One of the things that I will talk about during the femininity show is the different creation stories of man and woman. And that's what that reminded me of. So hopefully you can make it to that show. Indigo says, in order for me to stay white, I have to make you black. Right. It's living in the duopoly, right? Sorry, everything kind of froze there for a second. And thank you, Toya, for being here. I didn't get to say hi. Okay. Oh, Adric, thank you so much for putting the link in there. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about upcoming shows because I hyped up the femininity show. So hopefully you guys can be in there for that. I'm switching from a notebook to technology. So instead of pulling over my notebook, I'm going to pull over this scribe because Christmas presents. Okay, so the Pivot Point Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, is Quantum Physics Proves Karma. So I think that one's really, really important, especially in this modern era. And then next Sunday is the link between Maslow's hierarchy of need and tantric sex practices. And I will be talking a little bit about specifics on how to do tantric sex practices. The following Pivot Point Wednesday is mommy issues for men and women, right? But the feminine energy is going to be on a Pivot Point Wednesday on the 18th of December. So hopefully you all can make that. Let's see. Compassionate says that's an interesting idea. Leon says, I'll be there at the next show. I'm doing the most masculine thing for the next 6 weeks. Paternity leave has commenced. Whoop, whoop. Yay, Leon. Peace to you, Adric. Rael says, oh, he's explaining about the mother issues. Okay. So appreciate you guys being here. I'm going to show you a picture of my dog. Please like the video if you haven't already. It really helps the algorithm to know what kind of things you like. Share where you think it's appropriate, especially to someone who you think needs to hear it. And don't forget to check out some of the wilder Pivot Point Wednesday shows. And last, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, especially if you want to break down complex concepts that make the esoteric not soteric, helping you on your journey to become your most authentic self. By subscribing, you'll join a community that thrives on curiosity and growth, and you'll never miss out on insights and some wild discussions. Let's uncover the universe together.